Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's DAF Hayemi Maseches Bava Kamma DAF Tzadi Hey. We are holding 7 lines off the top of the Amid at the 2 dots. Gazal paro muberes v'yoda v'chulu. Says the Gemara Tana Rabbanan, we have a brisa. Hagoy zel rochel ugazaza. He steals a sheep laden with wool, he holds on to it, and then he shares the wool. Paraviolda. Or he stole a cow, and then it gave birth under his care. How much does he repay? We have 3 opinions. Mishalam Oisa, not only does he pay back the animal, he has to give back the animal that he stole, but he adds, Ves gizei seho, Ves vodei seho. He has to add the sharings as well. In the case of the cow which gave birth, he returns the offspring as well. Divrei Rabbi Meir. So according to him, everything, lock, stock, and barrel, the entire package, goes back to the former owner, the fellow who was robbed. So according to Rabbi Meir, although the animal now underwent a drastic transformation, it was shorn of its wool. It gave birth to its offspring. That's really a shinui, drastic change. The Gazlan does not keep anything. He has no rights to any part of this package. Rather, everything is restored back to the owner. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, he disagrees. You give it back the way it is. A shorn sheep. A para without the offspring. But Rashi adds, he has to add something. You see, when he stole the sheep, it was full, it was laden with wool, which increases its value from, let's say, 800 for just a shorn animal without wool. It goes up to 1,000 because it has all that wool. So that's how much he has to pay him. He gives him back the empty sheep with no wool, which is worth 800, and adds another 200 as per its value at the time of the robbery. But he does not have to give him back the entire wool. So basically, an animal with its wool is now worth 1,500. The animal with the shorn wool at its side, that's 1,500. He doesn't have to give that back. That's shinui. That's the change, transformation. That's the Gazlan's kinyan. That's his. He keeps it, but he does have to return. He does have to compensate as per the animal's value at the time of the geneva. Rabbi Shimon Omer Royin Oisa Kilu Hishuma Esle Bekesef. He's similar to Rabbi Yehuda. You don't have to return the entire thing. He gives it, he gives it back to him, and he gets compensated. The Gazlan will charge a fee, like a management fee, because after all, he tended to the animal, he took care of it. So he gets back as per that input, at that effort and that expense. So we have 3 shittas. Rabbi Meir says everything goes back. Rabbi Yehuda says no, he gives it back empty, without its wool. Rabbi Shimon says he gives it all back, but he gets paid for his efforts. Kilu hishuma esla bekesef. There's a set value, a set fee, a market fee for this management. The Gemara will now focus on each one of these 3 opinions: Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda, and we'll start with Rabbi Meir. Iboilu. The question was posed: Mai taimeh de Rabbi Meir. Why is it that according to Rabbi Meir, you give it all back, despite the fact that it went through a drastic shinui from the time of Gezela until now? Is it because Mishum de Kasavra shinui, this change, bimkoimoi oimid, is not a factor? It's still the same animal. We don't care that it was shorn, that it gave birth. It still identifies with its former owner. The Ganav is not kaina anything, he doesn't keep anything. That's one way. Or perhaps typically, if there's a drastic change like this, the Ganav is kaina and no longer has to return everything to the owner, rather only as per the time of the geneva. So why is it different? Rabbi Meir decided to add a knas, to apply a penalty, to penalize this robber, this thief. What are you doing stealing the animal? We don't want you to make money off the deal. We don't want to encourage further robbery, further thievery. Rashi calls it, you don't want a violator, niskar, to gain, to benefit, to make money off the deal. So give it all back. So we know he gives it all back. Question is why? Is it because we ignore the shinui factor and it's all the original owners? It's rightfully his, or no, it's rightfully the ganav's, but on account of this penalty, he gives it all back. So the point is pretty much one and the same. Everything is restored. Question is why? So what's the difference? If it's because of this or because of that? What's the difference? Very simple. If it went down, if it dropped in value, let's say the animal got weak, it's suffering from a health ailment, some sort of weakness has descended on the animal. So it dropped in value since the time of the Geneva. So if the point is that shinui, change, is ignored, so give it back. Whether it increased in value or decreased, it all goes back the way it is. But if the point is that shinui is a kaina, so the Ganav really now took possession because of this change, it's no longer considered the original entity, it's just because we don't want it to gain on the deal, so we require full repayment. That's only applicable when it went up in value. We don't want you to gain on the deal, but if it went down, just give it back as is. So that will be the difference between the two schools of thought. Tashma. Here comes an attempt at proving the real reason for Meir's halacha, that everything is returned. We have a Mishnah. Gaza behema v'hiskino. The Ganav stole an animal, and it grew into old ripe age, and now it's much older and obviously worth less. Avadam v'hiskino. Or he stole an eved, and it grew old to the ripe old age of 80. Okay, same entity, the same person, but it's worth much less. How much? Now comes time for a payback. The Ganav wants to come full circle. He wants to make up for his misdeeds. How much? Mishalim kish'asa gzela. According to the Tana Kamma, the Rabbanon, you go back in time. How much was this animal or this eved worth when it was stolen? Rabbi Omer, I agree by the animal, but by the ba'avoda, by the slaves, a slave is considered like an asset, like karka. And halachically speaking, there's no actual stealing when it comes to land. Practically, you don't take possession of it. Maybe you threw the owner off his land, but you don't have that kinyan gazelle. You haven't really taken possession. It's always still attributed to its owner. Same thing with an eved. It's an asset. Therefore, says Rameir, even though the eved just underwent a drastic change, he's very old. He's a different eved. An eved is not really stolen. Here, take it back. It's yours. Leave me alone. But that's only by the eved because of this special reason. But even Rameir agrees that you can't just give him back the old animal. Rather, you have to repay him based on its value during the gzela, despite the fact that there was a drastic shinui in the interim. Apparently, Rameir ignores shinui. If you're going to tell me Rameir holds that shinui is ignored, is not a factor at play, so why does Rameir say, if the behema got old under the Ganav's care, you can't just give him back the animal? It's a shinui. That loss is applied to the Ganav. No, you have to go back in time. You have to pay him according to the value during the Geneva. Apparently we reckon with shinui. You can't just take this and give it back. It's yours. It's the Ganav's, right? Because of the shinui. It's not considered the same exact entity anymore. Because otherwise, why don't you just give him back the behema the way it is? I feel behema nami. Clearly, Rameir holds when there's a shinui, the Ganav is kaina. The only way to really repay is to repay former value. So why in our story with the animal that was shorn, says Rameir, it all goes back. What do you mean? Shinui. There's a knas. We penalize him. Is that a true conclusion? Amri. So the response given was as follows. Not necessarily. Sometimes you have one Tana sort of relating to the other, to his opponent's opinion. I hold one thing, but let me just relate to you for a moment. Even according to you, such and such and such. Rabbi Meir is speaking. Look, according to my personal opinion, Shina ain't koina. Shina is not a factor. Still the same entity. Okay? And even by the animal that grew old, you can just give it back as is. That's my personal opinion. However, even according to your stand, that Shina is a factor. It's a new entity. So that explains why you can't return the old Eved. But at least by the old Behema. But at least by the Eved, agree to me. It's like Karka. It's an asset. It's a part of your estate. It's like Karka. You can't steal. It's not stolen. And therefore, V'karka ain't an exilis. There's no halachic concept of stealing by Karka. So therefore, it was always considered in his owner's possession. So although he's very old, just give him back. That's my response to you, says Rameir. I'm related, Rabban respond, no, loy, avda, kimetal to the dummy. We treat an Eved like any other object. It's stolen. There's a shinoi, the ganav has to absorb that loss, and therefore he has to pay him according to former value. So we tried to prove Rameir's shita, we couldn't really conclude. Tashmai comes another attempt. Is it that Rameir holds Shini is not kaina? Or Shini typically is kaina, but over here we apply a knas, which requires full payment. Tashmal, it's vayalei adam. So I give the professional dyer raw material, raw wool, dye it red. Mitzavay shachar, the fellow had some extra black dye, decided to do it black. Or the other way, shachar asked him black, mitzavay adam, he did it red. How much does he have to compensate me? Just my raw material? Or the truth is that, even though it's the wrong color, but it's still worth more. So that additional worth, who's it belong to? That's Shina, right? Rameir Omer Nisnli made Simri. All he has to return is the actual raw material, the value of the raw material, that's it. The dyer, the professional, keeps the extra. Dmei Simra in, only the actual material does he have to repay. Dmei Simra ushvache, but the added value, he doesn't have to repay me that. But for Rameir would hold that change is not a factor, even if it was changed from red to black. It's still mine. It still does not revert to the professionals, to the dyer's possession. How much should he restore? How much should he compensate me? The entire value, raw material and its current value. It's all mine. No, clearly Rameir holds Shina is not a factor. Sorry, Shina is a factor. Because Rameir, Shina kaina, because it was a Shina. Right? Just change colors and all that. Makes it his. And therefore, all he gives me back is raw material. Now a case with the animal that was shorn. The reason why he's fully responsible, he has to repay it all, despite the Shinoi. That's because of a penalty. So according to this first piece of Gemara, we discussed Rameir Shita, that Shina is kaina, but we don't want the Ganav to gain, and therefore he has to repay it all. But Rashi points out, in the case of the wrong color, there's no point of penalizing him. Rashi says, he didn't realize, he overlooked it, it wasn't advertent. So there, we don't apply a knas, and we allow the fellow to keep the extra. Here comes the second addition, another version of this whole discussion. There's no question, no doubt, that according to Rameir, the halacha is based on knas. How do I know? Because Rav had a different version of that Mishnah with the Eved and the old animal. He switched around the names between Rameir and the Rabban. He stole the animal, the slave, and they got old. Rameir holds. It's all based on the value at the time of the Geneva. The Chacham are the ones who disagree, and they say, when it comes to a slave, right? It's different. He just returns it as is. Here, take it. So clearly, Vaday l'Rav Meir shinikoine. Clearly, according to Rav Meir, change is reckoned with. Right? And that's why he has to pay him according to the value at the time of the theft. Because in its current state, it belongs to the guy. But now a sugya with the animal that he has to return it all, it must be because of a penalty. So that's a given. So according to the second edition, the Gemara, there's no question as to the rationale behind Rav Meir's shita, it's a knas. But the question is as follows. How far does Rav Meir go with that knas? Does he only apply it to a mazid, when he deliberately defied his wishes, or even by something inadvertent? Because it might lead to a mazid. The question is like this. When Rav Meir applies a knas, is it only b'mazid? But it was a mistake, he doesn't apply the knas. Or even by shagig perhaps as well. Tashma, we're going to try to prove it from the following interesting halach. In the following 5 cases, one can only collect from michurorin. He has this, monetary claim. You can only collect from assets which are available, free and available, as opposed to those who were sold after this, claim was initiated. So typically you can collect even from mishubadim, assets which were sold off after the loan was issued, but in these cases, these are exceptions, and they're discussed at length in Maseches Bava Kamma. But we're just going to go briefly over them and pull something out of this with reference to Ahu Gemara. Okay, so we have Veluhin. The following 5 are Perois, Shvach Perois. He's collecting for his lost crop. Shvach Perois, Rashi says, is discussed in Bava Kamma. Vamakabel Olav Lozanet Ben Ishta, Yabas Ishta. You have a situation where a person committed to support his stepson or stepdaughter. V'get Chayiv She'ein Bo Achrayis. Or if we have a loan document, a get Chayiv, get can sometimes mean a shtar, so it's a shtar for a chayiv, for a loan. But typically, there's achrayis in that shtar, which indicates that the borrower is committing himself and all his assets, which he may sell. So I'm allowing you to collect from those as well, but if it does not have that clause, ein bo achrayis, that only allows me to collect from available assets, free assets, which were not sold after the loan was issued. And finally, we have a similar case, uksuvas isha, shein b'achrayis, a marriage document, but it has no achrayis clause. So basically, in all these, you can collect from michurorin, available assets, as opposed to the ones that were sold. Now, the fact that we're even reckoning with the fact that it's missing the achrayis clause, and that disables me from collecting as I would normally collect. Man shamasle de Amar, who's the opinion, who's the shita that holds achrayis when ishtar is missing the achrayis clause? Lavtos sefer. We don't attribute it to the sefer describes a mistake. Oh, he just left it out because it's so standard. Why'd you leave it out? Maybe it's a mistake. No, we don't say that. Rabbi Meir here, that's Rabbi Meir's shita. And if it's missing the achrayis, there goes your ability to collect from the committed assets. Okay, so that's the point. We're establishing that this Bryce is Rabbi Meir speaking. Okay, once we know that, what is contained in this Bryce? What are the examples cited in the Bryce? Uktani, we have Perus, Shvach Perus. Now what does that mean? Shvach Perus, Heichidami. The crops which improve the value of the... why am I collecting? What's going on? Kigoin, as follows. Shegaz al Sada Mechaber. Shimon stole Ruvain's field. Umachar la'achar. He turned around and sold it to Levi. V'hishbich, and Levi invested effort, time and money into producing a crop of bananas. Now Ruvain comes back to take his field. So now Levi's going to lose the field back to Ruvain, the real owner. And there goes the field with my bananas. So when Levi turns around and gets restitution from Shimon, the thief who sold it to him, so the actual purchase price, the actual keren, that he collects from anything, even from assets that Shimon may have sold after this sale, because that's a regular claim, it's like a regular loan, and you're bound to me first. But the added value, for the bananas that I lost, I can get it back from you, but I'm limited. Only from available assets. Okay, this is a discussion which is not really our sugya, but bottom line is, it's clear that Levi is looking for restitution. He's looking to be compensated for everything. Apparently he lost everything. Who took it from him? Reuben, the real owner. The Asabal Aravish Shakil. Apparently Reuben, the real owner, grabbed the field with the produce, with the crop, with the bananas. Why? What happened to the Shinoi element? It was a drastic change. It was an empty field when it was stolen. Now it's full of bananas. What happened to Shinoi? Why can't Levi hold on to that? My love, so we're assuming, it must be speaking by Maritz. Now Levi was not a learned fellow. He wasn't really proficient with the halachis. He didn't know the karka nexelas or in nexelas, whether or not the concept of thievery applies to land, that we discussed this before, because in reality, it doesn't. It's not really considered, practically stolen, right? So the halachas of Shina don't really apply, but Levi, as being an Amaretz, he didn't realize that. He thought that Shimon the Ganav actually, sort of took possession of the field now, and now he can give it to Levi, and Levi will own the extra banana. It's considered a proper sale. He was allowed to buy it from Shimon and, get working on the field. He didn't realize that the field technically still was in Reuben's possession, right? He thought that the Goslin took possession. It was Yush because the owner gave up on it, and it sort of reverted to Shimon's ownership. And now Levi can just buy. He didn't realize that that was erroneous. So thinking along those lines, he's thinking that he's justified in buying the karka from Shimon. It's sort of now Shimon's possession, and how he can buy it. It's not considered stolen goods, right? So even though it was sort of inadvertent, he didn't mean to undo the real owner. And still, what do we say? When payday arrives, Levi loses everything. The real owner, Reuben, takes everything. He takes the land with the shvach, with all the additional value, with the bananas. Why? What happened to Shinui? This clearly tells us, this is Rameir speaking, as we established. The knas, the penalty, applies even by shegeg, such as in this case. Give it all back. Doesn't that prove our point? The Rameir extends his knas to even shegeg. Amri, the answer is no. Levi was a learned man. He knew full and well. Karka, there's no concept of theft by karka. It's always still connected. It always identifies as Reuben. You had no business buying it from Shimon. So it's mazid. Deliberately, interfered with somebody else's property, and therefore when payday arrives, everything goes back. Tashma. But here comes another raya. Again, what are we trying to figure out? Whether the knas, to return everything, applies just by mazid or even by shegeg. We have the story with the mistaken color, right? I gave him the wool, it's by layadam to make it red, it's by shachar, did it black. Shachar, it's by yadam, right? Nice and light made simrai. The fellow has to pay back just for the raw material. And he keeps the added, value of the dyed material. To make simrai, only the actual wool is he responsible for. To make simrai shvachaloi, he doesn't give back the dyed wool. The extra value belongs to the painter. Now, if you shall tell me that the knas applies even by shogeg, so let's assume, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, says Rashi, that it's a shogeg. He didn't realize, he's thinking he's doing the owner a favor. He wanted it red, come on. Black is classy, right? So he's thinking that's allowed. So it's a shogeg. If you shall say that the knas, to return everything, applies even by shogeg, so in this case as well, he should have to return everything. This should be required to give him back. This proves our point that only b'mezid, when he deliberately stole, we say that he's required to return everything. Kanis, we apply the knas, b'shegi kanis, but by yeshegi Rameh does not apply the knas. That proves our point. Okay, so the bottom line is, we spoke about a fellow who stole an animal, sheared it, or an animal gave birth. So now he has much more value. How much does he have to repay? So we focused on Ramir, everything. Why? Even though Shina is Kaina, it should really belong to the Gazlan, Knas. Knas is only by Mezid, but not by Shekik. Rabbi Yehuda Gzeila Chayzeres Behineo. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. Just give it back as is, without the wool. Shina is Kaina, we don't make it, Knas. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Royin Oisa Kihilu Yishuma Esle Bekesef. Rabbi Shimon says, technically, he gives it all back, but then the Ganav is entitled to demand payment for his effort. He gets his management fee. Says the Gemara, might be nayu. So, what's going on between these shitas? Meaning that clearly Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon disagree with Rabbi Meir's idea that everything goes back as is. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees, and so does Rabbi Shimon. The Ganav is entitled to keep this extra value. Shini is kaina. But what's the difference between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Shimon? Might be nayu. Amar Zvid, here it goes. B'shvach shal gabe gzeil kamiflaki. Let's say the animal itself still has its added, element on itself. The wool is fully grown and sitting on the sheep. Right? So the shvach is on the item. It's not been removed. It's not been sheared off. It's still on the animal. Who does that go to? Rabbi Yehuda Savar the Nigzal Havi. That much, you can't take that away from him. If it's sitting on the actual animal, it belongs to the Nigzal, the real owner. It's part of his animal. It's an expansion of the owner's animal. You don't deserve to keep it. Rabbi Shimon Savar the Gazal Havi. Rabbi Shimon disagrees. Even though it's still sitting on the animal, that's called shinoi. It underwent a change, a transformation. That added value belongs to the Gazlan. The Gazlan Havi. So bottom line, if the animal's wool was shorn, Rabbi Meir says, again, everything goes back to the owner, Knas. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon disagree. Rather, Rabbi Yehuda says you give him, the empty, the shorn sheep, plus, as we explained before, you have to add based on what it was worth during the theft. That's it. Okay? But between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, we have this additional machlekes as well. Shvach that's still present on the animal. The long wool that's sitting on the animal itself, which grew under the Ganav's care. Rabbi Yehuda says that all goes back to the owner. Rabbi Shimon says, no, even that's a change, it's an added value that happened under his care, and we just, reckon how much the animal was worth during the theft, and that's what he pays him. Everything else the Ganav keeps. The Gazlan Havi. Rav Papa Amar, he disagrees. The Kuli Amu Shvach Shagab Gzeil, the Gazlan Havi. Everybody agrees. The added features on the actual animal belongs to the Gazlan, because that's called a Shina, it's a change, and he's kind of that. The question just is, how much of it can he keep? So according to Rav Papa, it's the other way around. Rabbi Yehuda will hold that the Ganav gets more than Rav Shimon holds. Do we have to just give him a management fee, 50%, a third, a quarter, standard, market management fees? That's the machlekes. Is it just that, or does he keep the entire added feature? Rabbi Yehuda Savar Shvach Shagab Gzeila, the added benefit, the added element, even though it's found on the actual item itself, Kulei the Gazlan Havi, it all belongs to the Gazlan. He's kind of Beshina, it says. Rabbi Shimon Savar, no, he only gets part of it as per management fee. Lamechza, Lishlish, Vilarvio, the Shakel, only that does the Gazlan take. So bottom line, we have machlekes regarding Shvach that's still on the Gzeila. According to Rav Zvid, Rabbi Yehuda holds it all belongs to the Nigzal. Rav Shimon says it belongs to the Gazlan. According to Rav Papa, it's the other way around. Rabbi Yehuda says it all belongs to the Gazlan. Rav Shimon says, well, part of it. Tanan. Here comes the kasha from the Mishnah. Gazal parav in his abra etzloi. This is our Mishnah back at the beginning of the parak. He stole the cow. It was not pregnant. Then it became expectant. V'yolda, and it gave birth under his care. Rachel stole a sheep. V'nit ana etzlei, it got full of wool under his care. V'gazla, and he shored the wool, right? Remove the wool. Mishalam kishas agzel. The Mishnah says in this case, how much is he responsible for? Its value at the time of the theft. Yolda in. That's only because the animal already gave birth under his care. Lo yolda, but let's say it has not yet given birth, but it became expectant under his care. It would sound from the Mishnah that what happens? Hadra be'ena. He has to return it as is, with the contained shvach, which is the shvach shagab exela, right? That's our discussion. So who's the shita that holds that everything goes back to the owner? Bishlam Rabbi Zvid, the Amar shvach shagab exela, the nigzal havi, the Rabbi Yehuda. So according to Rabbi Zvid approach, the Rabbi Yehuda would hold in this case, the added value is so part and parcel of the item, it goes back to the nigzal. It doesn't relate to the gazlan. It's part of the nigzal's entity. Okay? So according to that shita, the Rabbi Yehuda holds it all goes to the nigzal. So this mission is Rabbi Yehuda, Hamani Rabbi Yehuda, El Rav Papa, Dama the gazlan havi. But according to Rav Papa, who says that according to all, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, this added value belongs to the gazlan, Hamani. So who's speaking in the Mishnah? Lo Rabbi Yehuda v'lo Rabbi Shimon. It's not Rabbi Yehuda or Rabbi Shimon. Amalach Rav Papa will respond like this. Hu adin afil lo yolda nami, kishas agzelo de mishalim. You know what? Even if the animal had not yet given birth, so he stole the empty animal, became pregnant under his care, and now he wants to give it back. Even in this situation, he would not have to totally give it back, only based on its value during the theft. Why? Because it belongs to the gazlan. So why then does the Mishnah pick an example of an animal which gave birth? Why do we need to give birth? For him to keep the extra. I did the Nasiv Reshi Yolda, Nasiv Nami Sefer Nami Yolda, because in the first part of the Mishnah we had to discuss a case where it gave birth. That's the point of the Mishnah there, because we're trying to bring out that he only has to pay according to its previous value. So that's why in the next case we also discuss a case where it gave birth, but it's not necessarily required to illustrate the halacha. Because even if it's still pregnant, the ganav has the right to keep that extra value. Tanik Avasid Rav Papa, we're going to prove Rav Papa's approach is correct. From Bryce, Rav Shimon Omer, in this case where the animal has that extra value on it, Roy and Oisa, Rav Shimon Omer, Roy and Oisa, Kilu Shuma Etzle Bekesef, Lemechza, Lishlish Rav Yehuda, Rav Kohen Rav Shimon. He gets, but not totally. He gets based on the the management type of system, 50% or a third or a quarter. So clearly, Reb Shimon will hold that technically, at least a good portion of this extra belongs to the gazlan, which is as per Rav Papa's approach. Amar Ravashi, ki avina b'Rav Kahana. We once by Rav Kahana, we had a question. Yiboylan, l'Rab Shimon de Amar lemechza l'shlish l'rvia. Okay, let's focus on Rav Shimon. He gets a portion, a percentage of this, of this gain, right? By who the shakal gazlan, right? So gazlan gets this percentage. Question is, how does he collect this fee? Do we have a right to just pay him off, write him a check? Or can he insist on taking a portion of the actual animal? Look, I improved it, I worked it. I invested in the animal. I have a part ownership in the animal. Or can we just write him a check? That was the question. We concluded, we tried to conclude based on a raya. Shmuel tells us a similar halacha, a case where a person has a sort of claim, and same question arises. Does he get a stake in the actual thing, or can we just write him a check? In 3 cases, we have to sort of evaluate the added value and compensate this person, but we can do it by way of just writing him a check. Which 3 cases are we speaking about? B'char lepashet, Rashi explains. So the firstborn, B'char, was entitled to double inheritance. And what happened was, before the brothers divided the karka, the estate, it improved, went up in value. So the Bechor has to sort of give part of he has to pay off his brother, because he's only entitled to a double portion pertaining to the estate, the actual original estate. But the shvach, the added value, that he's not entitled to double portion on that. That wasn't in his father's possession, right? It happened after the father passed away. So he has to sort of compensate his brother because he took too much. He took double from the actual asset and from the shvach. So that extra he has to pay his brother. Lepashut, he has to give the brother, payment for that. That's one example. Ubachayv l'lekeach, ubachayv l'yisayim. So bachayv l'lekeach involves a case where the creditor came to collect his loan, which went into default. He goes after the properties, in this case, that were sold to another customer after the loan was issued. So he has the right to extract that. But what about the investment of the guy? He was mashbiach. The customer invested and improved on the land. So that part he can't take. So he'll take the field, but he'll have to compensate and pay him off for that extra. It's another example. So their father had the bank was after the father, and after default on the loan, the bank came and collected the assets belonging to the kid, the Yisayimim. And it so happens that the assets had already sort of improved and increased in value after father passed away. So the Baal Chayv, the bank, has to pay off the Yisayimim for the extra benefit, the extra value, which really they shouldn't be collecting, because it's part of the it belongs to the Yisayimim, not to the father. So we have three situations where compensation is required. In all three, we say, look, you don't have to give him a slice of the actual. You don't have to leave behind a piece of the property. You can take the entire property, but you have to sort of pay him for the shvach, the added value, which you owe him for. So bottom line is that in our case as well, the Gazlan insists on getting a portion of this added value. He wants his management fee. That doesn't entitle him to an actual stake in the actual item. Rather, we write him a check, and he's taken care of that way. Asks the Gemara, Amar Ravina Ravashi, Mi Amar Shmuel, Ba'chayiv l'lekeach yav l'shvach. Is that true? Can that be that according to Shmuel, the Baal Chayiv has to compensate the fellow for the added value, for the shvach? He can't just take it all and walk away, really? Amar Shmuel himself tells us he takes it all. Baal Chayiv gave us a shvach. The bank could just walk away with everything without need to compensate at all. Amar Leisi responded, well, it depends how developed this crop is, this shvach. Loikash, answer is like this. Kam b'shvach hamagel ksafayim. If the crop is so developed, magel ksafayim is just an expression, right? Taisa says it's, the crop is ready to be picked and, carried on your shoulders. Basically, it means to say that it's ready to go. Fully ripe, ready to be picked. So that no longer relates to the actual property. You have no right to just walk away with that. You have to compensate him for that. But if the crop is not yet fully grown, it's not yet fully finished, it still relates to the land, so then you just take it as one big package. You don't have to compensate him. Says the Malay, so he responded, what do you mean? Look around, every day, look what we do. Even when it's fully done and ready to go, Shmuel himself allows the Baal Chayiv to take it all without compensation. Armalesi, he responded, Loikash answers like this. Ha demasik bey kishir ara ushvacha. It depends how large the loan, how big the loan is. If the amount owed covers the land value and the shvach as well, so then he has the right to take it all without paying him anything. Right? It's all owed to me. It's all part of the land. That's it. It's part of my claim. But the halacha where Shmuel says you have to compensate is speaking where my loan doesn't really cover everything. Delay masak bay. Ela kashir ara. My claim is only as per the value of the land, right? Which is $1 million. That's what I'm owed. That's what I want to collect. The bananas are beyond $1 million. So although I'm going to take it, but I have to compensate you for that. So the question is like this. Why do I have a right to go take the bananas? At all. That all works. According to the Shita, it says, there's an interesting machlekes in Bava Kamma. Let's say the buyer of this land, he bought it off the borrower, right? A person borrowed money, he sold his land, and the customer now is confronted by the bank. Question, can the customer just pay off the bank? Does he have a right to do that? Could the bank say, look, our claim lies on this field, we want the field? So that's only according to the Shita, which says, the customer happens to have access to money, which he's going to offer to the bank. He has no right to demand that the Bal Chayiv accept the money. Bal Chayiv says, I want the land, that's my shibud, that's the object of my claim. So according to that approach, Shapir, we could very well understand that even when the loan amount just equals the land amount and doesn't really cover the crop, so despite the fact that the crop is beyond the loan amount, still we understand why the bank has a right to collect the land with the crop. So fine, they have to compensate me for the crop that they took, but they have a right to take the entire thing because their claim lies on the actual tract of land and the crop comes along with it. Right? So you understand why they can walk away with it. They have to pay me for the extra crop, but they can take it. But according to the other opinion, which says the option is mine. The customer happens to have access to money with which to pay off the bank. He has a right to do that. He can say, look, take money and leave my land alone. So clearly, his claim is not specific to the land. It's just a means of collecting his loan. So why can't I just tell the bank, look, so let the customer tell the Bal Chayiv, look, imagine I would have had money to pay. I don't, but imagine I would have had access to money. I would have just shooed you away with the money. I would have chased you off the entire land. Here, take the money, bye. Now that I'm poor guy, I don't have the money. Right? So you have to take the karka. But what right do you have to take everything? Leave me a little tract of land, shir shvachai, equal to the amount of the added shvach, the part that I invested, the added value that came later. You have no right to collect. Meaning, if your claim is land specific, fine, you take the whole thing. You have to pay me back for the shvach. But if you're not really, this land is not really earmarked for you specifically. It's just a means to collect your loan. If I would have money, I would pay you money. So you have no right to take more than your loan. He responded, was speaking that the land was earmarked. My skin was speaking about a special case. The borrower actually earmarked this piece of land. Apoiteki is a joint word. Your claim would lie on this field. So he sort of labeled it. He earmarked it. Your claim is land specific. Alright, the Amalei told him, when you collect on account of a default, you're going to collect this field, only this field. So it's earmarked for him, so it is land specific. So if he takes the entire thing, but the value that came later, the shvach invested by the buyer, that he has to pay for, and that's the subject of our discussion. Bottom line, we had a brisa, person stole an animal, it improved, it was a shinoi. Rameir says it all goes back to the victim, knas. And we concluded the knas is only by mezit. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon disagree. And actually, they discuss another case as well. If the shvach still present on the actual item, on the animal, what happens there? Whether it's Zviz's approach or Papa's approach, it belongs to the Gazlan, to the Nigzal, he gets a management fee. Then we discussed, well, if there's a management fee arrangement, can he demand a portion of the actual item? Does it denote part ownership, or can we just, shoo him away, write him off a check? And that seems to be the consensus here, that you can do that, as per the other cases of Shmuel, which allow for that as well. All the best to you, and Atzlach Rab.